¿Qué pasa YouTube? 6fthax here. Have for you guys today the start of a new little series I'm going to be doing with my boy Harris is awesome. Now, as you can see from the title, this is going to be a best of 7 series on Wi-Fi. And the reason why I'm doing it with Harris is because he's one of the better battlers that I know, that I talk to on occasion. And I've always kind of wanted to do something like this, so I hit up Harris and he was definitely down to do this idea. Now, what a best of 7 series is that we're going to be having a possible total of 7 games, but the first person to win 4 out of those potential 7 games wins the series. So I could go 4-0 against Harris, or Harris could go 4-0 against me, or we could go like 3-4 or 4-3. Just, you never know, and that's kind of exciting. So this is going to be the series. Now, I'm still going to be doing like regular Wi-Fi battles against you guys if I am looking for them, of course. Now, if you do enjoy this little series, make sure to hammer that like button down below and to let me know about it in the comment section below, because that's probably going to be like the question of the day. What do you guys think about the series? Now, we've already played a couple matches, so just, yeah, let me know if you guys are going to be interested in this. We're not going to be doing just OU, we're going to be doing all tiers, so UU and Ubers and RU as well are going to be matches if we get to them. So enough of that, let's go ahead and look at the team preview. Now, if you look at Harris's team, he has a very scary offensive core of Hoopa Unbound and Keldeo, both of which could potentially wreck me with the proper predictions on his part. Also, Scizor could potentially be SD setup for late game, so I really have to watch out for that. Tapu Koko could be a huge nuisance going into this match depending on the set. And then Heatran, honestly, I don't really have a safe switch in the Heatran, just because if my Keldeo gets weakened, it could potentially get out of hand. However though, my Mamoswine proves to be a huge problem for Harris, not to mention that I could also potentially hazard stack against his team because I do have rocks on Mamoswine and I have spikes on my Ferrothorn, and my own Tapu Koko could prove to be very annoying to his team depending on if Keldeo is scarfed or not. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get this started. So going into this match, I definitely decided to lead off with my Tapu Koko because I was pretty positive that he was either going to lead off with the Scizor or lead off with the Landorus. Funny enough, he ends up leading off with his own Tapu Koko. Now, I have Hidden Power Fire on my Tapu Koko, and I haven't done the bottle cap. So, if he doesn't have Hidden Power Fire, he is actually 1 point faster than me. So, he wins something that probably wasn't a speed tie and is going to be able to get off a good amount of damage with that Thunderbolt as I go for the Volt Switch, thinking that maybe he wouldn't want to risk the speed tie, or thinking that maybe he would go for his own Volt Switch, and he's not going to risk bringing in Landorus, so I could potentially get Switch Initiative. Either way though, I get a free Volt Switch into my Keldeo, which applies a lot of pressure to Harris's team along with my Mamoswine, as I unfortunately miss my Hydro Pump here. I'm going to make a very questionable play, and I'm going to stay in against his Keldeo to see whether or not he is scarfed or specs, as he goes for the Secret Sword, only doing a little over 50%. That definitely tells me he is a scarf Keldeo, because specs Keldeo would have done 70 to 80%, which means I should be able to get a free switch into my offensive Double Dance Landorus here, as he does go for the Secret Sword. Now, predicting him to want to switch out this turn into either his own Landorus or into his Scizor, what I'm going to do is actually go for the Swords Dance, as he does end up bringing in the Scizor. Now, because my Z move is Continental Crush, none of my 2 offensive moves can OHKO Scizor depending on his spread. So either way, I'm just going to hit him with my hardest hitting move, which is going to be the Continental Crush, as he switches into his Landorus, knowing that Scizor could potentially win him the match late game if my Keldeo is gone. He is going to switch into his Landorus. Now, even though he did get the Intimidate off, I am still at +1, but I am actually a Jolly Landorus as opposed to an Adamant Landorus. So I wasn't too positive that this Continental Crush would have been able to knock out his Landorus, but either way, I'm still able to get off a solid 60% amount of damage, and very confident in the fact that he's going to go for the Hidden Power Ice, not wanting to mess around with my Landorus and me not wanting to risk missing Stone Edge. I'm actually going to make an aggressive switch into my Ferrothorn, and the good thing about this is that now I can go for a layer of spikes, as he is actually going to end up switching directly into his Keldeo. I thought about going for the power whip there, but on the off chance that he did want to try and bring in his heat train to get up his stealth rocks, I decided just to go for a layer of spikes. And you're going to see that this one layer of spikes really comes in handy throughout this whole match, especially because he's going to turn out to not have defog on that Scizor. So he's going to predict me to potentially have the protect here and hard switch into his Heatran, as I actually switch into my Tapu Koko as death fodder. But the good thing about this is that now what I can do is just safely click Thunderbolt, because even if he brings in his Landorus, that Landorus isn't Scarf, so I can then outspeed him and potentially knock him out with the Heated Power Fire or the Dazzling Gleam, as I'm going to be able to get off a solid chunk of damage on this Heatran. This Lava Plume, unfortunately, is going to be able to knock me out. I was kind of hoping that it would be able to live, so I could have maybe gone for another Thunderbolt or potentially gone for the Volt Switch if that would have knocked him out. Either way, though, weakening this Heatran is really good for me, because now I can bring in my Keldeo and I don't have to risk going for a Hydro Pump. What I can do instead is go for the Scald. Now, even if he had brought in his Keldeo, he would have taken the Scald damage, the Spikes damage, and then there was a chance I could have got the burn, but he instead decides to fodder off his Tapu Koko, or potentially expecting me to go for the Secret Sword, which I would have been able to 2-hit KO him anyways. But now this gives him a free switch into this giant, terrifying 6-armed behemoth, which is going to turn out to be Choice Banded Hoopa Unbound. And I switched into my Ferrothorn, foolishly thinking that I could take two, but no, as you saw there, Hoopa just laughs, and this is the cleanest 2-hit KO I have ever seen, because I don't have Protect, and even if I had it, it wouldn't matter, because I wouldn't be at enough HP to take another hit, and I have no switching to this Hyperspace Fury. So I unfortunately lose my Ferrothorn, which really sucks, because I could have been able to Leech Seed the Keldeo, Leech Seed Landorus, or even Leech Seed the Scizor if he tried to set up on me. But this now gives me a free switch into the Destroyer, Samoa Joe, and I make a really bad misplay. Like, honestly, there was no reason to not have gone for Stealth Rocks instead of going for the Earthquake. Like, my brain was screaming, go for rocks, but then at the same time I was like, well, what if he leaves in his Hoopa, which there's no reason he would do that because of how big of a threat Hoopa is to my team. Luckily though, I'm able to knock out the Landorus, but it just would have been so much better if I had gone for the Stealth Rocks there, because getting off that extra little bit of damage on his team would have been absolutely amazing and put me in a very solid position. But I do still have that one layer of spikes up, so it's really going to come in handy as well, as I'm forced to sack something off here. I'm going to sack off my Landorus. This was another huge blow to me as to why I lost Ferrothorn, because I don't have a switch into Hydro Pump anymore, and I'm going to be able to get a free switch into my Mega Gross here, which can live one Hydro Pump at full HP. So I'm just going to Mega Evolve and go for the Thunder Punch, as he ends up switching directly into a Scizor, which is fine by me because I'm still going to be able to do a pretty decent amount of damage. And if I had got up the Stealth Rocks, judging for how much damage this Thunder Punch is about to do, even if he had Mega Evolved, I might have been able to knock him out with the Hammer Arm, because that is my final move on here. I do have Meteor Mash, Thunder Punch, Zen Headbutt, I believe. No, Ice Punch, sorry, and Hammer Arm. But as you can see, I go for Meteor Mash. It does absolutely nothing to him, just because I didn't want to allow him to potentially Swords Dance for free. Plus, with Meteor Mash, I could have maybe got the attack boost, so then the following turn, I could have gone for a +1 Hammer Arm. Either way, though, I'm going to go for the Thunder Punch this turn. Pretty positive that he's not going to risk staying in here trying to Swords Dance, as he does end up going for the U-turn. And a reason I didn't go for Hammer Arm was because at -1, he could have then just brought in Hoopa Unbound, and then at that point, I lose a Pokemon because I'm at -1 speed. As he brings in the Keldeo, my only hope is for him to miss, but I live on 5 HP, and I'm going to be able to knock out this Keldeo. If he had knocked out my Metagross, then it would have come down to whether or not my Keldeo could win a speed tie against his Keldeo. As in comes the Scizor. I'm gonna go for the Hammer Arm on the off chance that he wants to try and Swords Dance, but he does make the aggressive play in going for the Bullet Punch, as I can now get a free switch into my own Keldeo, and now I'm in a really good spot right now. I may be down 2-3, but I still have a good chance to win this battle, as I'm just gonna go for the Skull, because at the amount of HP that he was at, if he was the impish natured Scizor with defense EVs and a lot of HP EVs, he could have lived my Secret Sword and then potentially gone for the Roost, and that would have been really bad for me. So Scalding there was definitely my better play, as I knock out the Heatran. Back comes this Hoopa, and all I have to do is sack off my Mamoswine and hope that after 2 turns of Spike's switch-ins, my Secret Sword will knock him out, as he goes for the Zen Head, but I'm actually able to just barely live again, and I'm gonna be able to go for the Ice Shard. I could have gone for the Earthquake if I thought he would switch out, but at this point there was really no reason for him to have switched out, as I'm able to get off the Ice Shard damage. I'm definitely confident that the Secret Sword will now knock him out, and after Scizor switches in, depending on if he is impish or not, even after the lair spikes, Secret Sword is a roll, so he still has a chance to win this match and get the first victory in the best of 7. So I'm gonna go for the Secret Sword. Luckily, he told me he was adamant and not impish, as I'm able to knock him out. Pony Power coming through after missing Hydro Pump at the beginning of the match and giving us the first victory in this best of 7 series. So hopefully you guys did enjoy this awesome first battle. And if you did, make sure to hammer that like button down below. Let me know what you think about the idea of the series. And with that being said, I will see you all tomorrow, guys. So thank you all for watching. Make sure to check out the 2 videos on the end screen. So later, everybody.
Cause my brain and heart are both tied in the knot, and this hinders me from crying a lot. This causing me to show no emotion, but when I said I cared, I wasn't joking. But I guess it's too late for me to become broken. For now, I'm living with no more pain, tears, or hoping. I'm just coasting. Yeah, I said I'm coasting. No more pain, tears, and hoping. For real.